Hello there friends, Seasons Live here. In today's video, STEWIE2K plans to come back to CS, Imperial female getting flamed for not being tier 1 material. M0NESY was almost part of Spirit's academy, and we'll talk about Blast Lisbon. Plus a bunch of other exciting news from the world of CS2. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. And I think we shall start with a bold statement from the women's tier 1 scene. The IGL of Imperial Female recently spoke about their participation in top tier events and the new VRS ranking system. In her opinion, the team didn't really deserve to be on the tier 1 stage and only made it there because of the updated rankings. Still, they didn't want to turn down the opportunity. Playing against tier 1 teams is an incredible learning experience. Alongside her criticism of VRS, Tori also offered some actual solutions. So her main point is to grow women's esports, which includes getting big streamers and tournaments to highlight female matches, helping the community to get more familiar with the women's scene. She also suggested organizing show matches to showcase the level of women's play, and of course increasing the number of tournaments to bring more women into the game overall. Speaking of show matches, Imperial Female recently played against a mixed team featuring Simple, Avalon, Bask, Tom and Strogo, a bunch of Eastern European streamers. Despite Simple not being in top form, the male team still took both maps, but Dusty went to overtimes, so at least it was close. One of the big reasons many women struggle to break into the pro scene is the insane level of competition, not just among female players, but also against a massive pool of male talents and also cheaters. Just take a look at the top of FaZe. It's usually stacked with rising stars from men's teams. Fighting a high-level female player up there is pretty rare, let's say. But here's a fun twist. How do you even climb to FaZe ladder to the top of it when the elo spot is held by someone with 11,000 elo? Wait, what? What about donk and M0NESY having their 4 or 5k elo? Well, that's old news. Recently the top spot was taken by Valfa, sitting at a ridiculous 11,000 elo. As you might have guessed, it wasn't legit. He simply abused a weird bug which let him farm a ton of fake rating. Luckily enough, FaZe's staff fixed it fast, removing the extra 10,000 elo, so he's back to his usual 1,000. Still, for a moment there, this dude felt like the king of FaZe. Remember how we talked about how hard it is to find hidden gems among thousands of players? That's why the organizations rely on talent scouts, people who know how to spot future stars. Take HUNS, for example, who helped build the Gambit and Cloud9 lineups, or Overdrive, who's known for discovering young talents for Spirit Academy. By the way, turns out at one point Overdrive had his eye on a 14-year-old kid named M0NESY. He actually recommended him to Spirit's Academy team, but the management thought he was too young and decided not to sign him. That's when NaVi Jr. stepped in. They signed him and never looked back. NaVi basically developed him into a tier 1 beast, and he's still performing at the top today and will be for a couple more years, at least. And later, when Overdrive suggested donk, Spirit didn't hesitate. They signed him immediately, and now he's the main star of the roster and named the best player of the year. So now, my friends, just imagine if Spirit listened back then. We could have had M0NESY and donk on the same team. Who knows what kind of domination we would have seen from Team Spirit. By the way, we do know what kind of domination you'll have if you follow us on Twitter. You'll get the biggest CS2 news before anyone else. The link is in the description, and also follow this YouTube channel. Thanks! Speaking of NaVi and the Ukrainian scene, recently Passion UA sold one of their rising stars, Jambo, who has now joined his former IGL Fear at Fnatic. So there were rumors about Jambo potentially heading to Falcons or Fnatic, but at that point, Passion UA decided to hold the transfer. They wanted to keep at least some VRS points after losing both Astralis and Fear. So now, with Jambo officially joining Fnatic, he replaces Bormilov in the lineup. As a reminder, Fnatic are now ranked 33rd on HLTV and 29th in the Valve rankings. It's still unclear how much things will shake up in this roster, but hopefully we'll see Fnatic back at tier 1 events often. Since we're talking about Tier 1 events and teams, we have to mention Valve's new rules for tournament organizers. From now on, all players must be given equal conditions, which means identical hotel rooms and the same PC setups for every team. No more advantages, no matter how big the org is. Which honestly sounded crazy to me, because I thought that all the teams were already having, like, same setups and all that. On top of that, TOs are now required to disclose any relationships with participating teams. This is likely a response to situations like Astralis and Blast, when they swapped out Bro for Cadian after the roster lock. Remember guys, the whole situation with Brovid. This rule basically means that orgs like NIP won't be able to compete in their own events, like the NIP series. And speaking of hotels again, the rules will potentially hit Blast the hardest, since they used to book 2 different hotels for teams. Looks like they have to change their traditions and start treating everyone the same. Speaking of TOs, ESL also announced a few rule updates ahead of IEM Dallas, specifically addressing what will happen with teams arriving late, especially those who finished top 4 at PGL Astana. The thing here guys is that PGL Astana ends on May 18th, and IEM Dallas kicks off on May 19th, which is basically the next day. These 2 cities are on the opposite sides of the globe, which gives a risk that the top teams from Astana just won't make it in time. So here's how it will work. If a team misses the media day, they will be fined $4,000 and 5% of their prize winnings from Dallas. PGL will have to organize all the traveling from Astana to Dallas. ESL will cover only half of the flight costs. And to help teams adjust, some matches will be pushed back by 1 hour, and late arrivals will be scheduled for evening games. Still, there are buts. If the team arrives at the venue at least 50 minutes before the match, they will get fined. If they miss the window by 15 minutes, they will get a forfeit map 1. 30 minutes? Well, a default loss for the whole series, which is kinda rough. And if a team does this more than once, they will be disqualified from the tournament. I mean, my friends, how pro players are supposed to survive a brutal flight, the playoffs of one event and the start of the next is a mystery for me, but let's hope that they can power through it. I mean, Valve wanted to fight monopolies and partnerships, but at what cost? And now, my friends, remember what made last year's IEM Dallas so memorable? That's right, G2 won it with its STEWIE2K standing in. It was kinda epic. And now STEWIE2K, for some reason, has officially announced that he's planning to return to CS, to pro scene, and not sometime in the distant future, but by the end of the year. I don't know about you guys, but I immediately thought about the other story we covered in one of the previous episodes, that Scream was also trying to come back. Could we actually be looking at the start of a veteran CS lineup like the Last Dance or something? The early days of Imperial maybe, when they first formed their legendary squad. Honestly, it's hard to say where Stewie could fit right now, but it's kinda exciting to think about it. My friends, let us know in the comments below which team should pick up STEWIE2K. Maybe he can finally save Liquid, I don't know. And since we're on topic of veteran players, we've got to talk about Coldzera. He recently shared his thoughts on how much his former teammate Niko is earning at Falcons. According to the Brazilian, Kovac now receives around $80,000 per month, not more. I mean, $100,000 is cool and sounds hypey, but he's not getting it, and it's a very large sum. Even Simple didn't receive much in his career. He also recalled the old FaZe days, saying that Niko had the highest salary on the team, which was kinda a couple of years ago, while Coldzera himself was earning around $30,000. But anyways, 80k is a lot, although it's shakes, but it's also Niko. He's definitely worth it. Now let's talk about Blast Open Lisbon, because we have some great storylines here. First, Hunter goes nuclear. You know, the second day of Blast went pretty much as expected. First up we had G2 versus Imperial, and obviously G2 were the clear favorites. Still, their recent form hasn't been too inspiring, especially with all the talk coming from the players themselves about the team leadership and internal issues. Luckily for them, they got a pretty forgiving opponent this time. It seemed like the perfect chance for M0NESY to farm some stats, but surprisingly, he didn't even hit a 1.10 rating. Instead, it was Hunter who absolutely took over.
And now they just partner up. Trade me, says try. Oh, Hunter! Farming heads! Hunting them down. One remains. It's decent. He kept him smoked, kept him at bay. Now playing the clock. Ouch! And playing the headshots. He cost. Yeah, he'd have to hit some crazy. Oh my god, he nails him. Now he just has to clear him. He hasn't got time for the plan. He's just going to swing it. Oh, Hunter!
Across 2 maps, he dropped nearly 60 frags, finished with a 1.89 rating, and played the best map of his entire career, a 2.67 Mirage. It was just crazy. Looks like Hunter is doing everything he can to keep M0NESY from following Niko out the door. Next up was Eternal Fire versus Liquid, and this one was a bit tricky to predict. On one side we've got the Turks, who are clearly going through a morale slump. On the other side we have Liquid, who are slowly growing, working through their issues, and they're improving, but they're still not great. The match started on Liquid's map pick, and it didn't go their way. The first half was somewhat even, but after the side switch, Liquid just collapsed. Eternal Fire ran them over. The final blow came from Woxic, who closed it out with a clean 1v2. Then came Anubis, and guys, let's be honest, playing Eternal Fire on Anubis is asking for trouble. They're insanely strong on the map. And starting on the CT side, which is considered weaker, they dominated Liquid, and once they switched to T side, they didn't overthink it, they just finished the job. Interestingly, my friends, Centaurus isn't the top performer on the team, like he used to be. Ever since making it to the top 20 of HLTV, his form seems to have dropped off a bit. But obviously to win trophies, Eternal Fire need him. Next up we had the Mongols versus M0NESY. On papers, the Mongols were clear favorites. Most people expected them to 2-0 clean sweep. But M0NESY are not so easy to deal with, as they might have seemed. They've surprised teams before, and this time was no different. The series kicked off on Dust 2, where both teams were going toe-to-toe. The Mongols had a solid start, but momentum quickly shifted, and the first half ended with a slight edge. In the second half, it turned into a back-and-forth battle, with both teams trading streaks of rounds. Swisher almost clutched a 1v3, twice, landing some insane jumping frags both times, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. The Mongols took map 1. Then came Ancient, and this one looked totally different. At one point, M0NESY were up 11-5, and the Mongols were on the brink. But they didn't give up. They mounted a comeback and tied the score to 11-11. But then, they lost a 2v3, which cost them the map. But by the time we got to the decider, Inferno, M0NESY had nothing left in the tank. The Mongols completely steamrolled them, closing the map with a dominant 13-3. The final match of day 2 was NaVi versus FURIA, and things kicked off with a bang because Coldzera opened Anubis with a quadro, showing why he's still Brazil's top player.
That's a nice little Beretta rhythm. Coldzera
Okay.
taps through smoke, gets another couple headshots, 3 kills in the pistol. Yeah, you're right, Furia's gonna win, huh? Not to over-exaggerate. He met dead. Quad kill for Coldzera.
But NaVi didn't care. They responded with 6 straight rounds. Then they traded a few with FURIA, and the half ended 4-8. The second half started with a FURIA comeback, which could have been shut down at 5-8 when Skulls missed Ime, but that mistake didn't stop them, and they kept pushing. Then came the turning point. Alexei B nearly pulled off an ace, taking down 4 players, but with low HP he lost the final duel to Fallen. Eventually FURIA tied it up to 9-9 and pushed the game to overtimes, but once there, NaVi started on T side and completely shut them them down. On Mirage, NaVi looked way more comfortable. Despite Ime having to clutch a 1v3 in round 2, NaVi completely dominated. They raced to 8-0. FURIA managed to scrap together 4 rounds, but after the side switch it quickly turned to 11-4 and then to 13-8. NaVi closed it out without much trouble. A strong and confident win for Nada's Vincere. Day 3 kicked off with a matchup between two underdogs, the HUNS versus Falcons. And of course, the team with the $1 million roster just couldn't win clearly. Falcons actually started off well, leading 5-3, but then they gave away a 1v4 clutch to 9. I mean, 9 is just amazing. He doesn't care. First Spirit, now Falcons. Massive clutches. Moreover, he's not just the team's AWPer, he's also the IGL. I mean, maybe Cadian should take some notes on how to lead and frag with the AWP at the same time. Thankfully, just 2 rounds later, Kexon fired back with an ace, helping Falcons to pull ahead to 7-5. After the side switch, HUNS managed to fight their way back into the game and even forced overtimes, but that's where Falcons finally showed some control and closed the first map. Next was Ancient, and things looked smoother for Falcons. They grabbed 8 rounds on T side and then just had a strong CT side. Dexter sealed the deal with a clean 1v2. After the match, the HUNS were eliminated, and Zonek didn't hold back. He said that his team needs to learn how to close rounds and stop sitting in a bad mood all the time, which is kinda scary when your coach says that. Sounds like Niko is not vibing with the team like he used to with M0NESY and Hunter. Next up was Astralis versus FaZe, and the mind game started right from the map Veto. Kerrigan didn't ban Train, and even though FaZe banned it 92% of the time, Astralis took the bait. But guys, it turned out to be all part of the plan. FaZe absolutely destroyed the first half. They were 11-1. Astralis tried to fight back after the side switch, but guys, let's be honest, the comeback was just not realistic. On map 2, FaZe just kept up the pressure. Even starting on the weaker side, they played it smart and closed the first half 8-4. And it didn't take long after that because FaZe took the map 13-6 and knocked Astralis out. Oh, and by the way, this might go down as the worst tournament for Cadian's career. Last match had 7 frags and this time a whopping 12. 17 combined in 2 matches. God damn. I mean, I like Cadian, but they have to do something. The highlight of day 3 was without a doubt Spirit versus Mouz. Before the game, Chopper gave a short interview saying that it was always tough to play Mouz because they practice a lot together. Both teams know each other inside out. And Mouz's young players are completely fearless. So my friends, let's look how it goes. The series kicked off on Dust 2, Spirit's pick. But Spinks struck first with a 1v2 pistol clutch. Shiro responded with a clutch of his own a few rounds later. But the thing is, guys, that outside of that one clutch and a single force buy, Mouz barely existed on the map. They just couldn't do anything more, not just in the first half but across the whole map. Team Spirit were just unstoppable. Next came Nuke, Mouz's pick, and it was a completely different story because they went up 7-1. And then Zontex clutched a very crucial 1v2, which shifted the momentum. Spirit closed it out with 7-5 and even took the early lead in the second half. But Mouz weren't giving up, they fought back to 12-11. And it was Brolin who stepped up to force overtimes, where Mouz completely shut Spirit down. So it all came to the decider, and it was neck and neck all the way. Neither team could pull ahead for long, but you could see Donk started to tilt. He was getting visibly frustrated, and Mouz took full advantage of it. Even at 9-12, Spirit, leading the game, made some critical mistakes, which led to losing 2 pistols, and soon the game went to overtimes. Donk was completely tilted. The first OTs had no winner. In the second OT, Storgy aggressively pushed A, he picked up 2 quick openers and completely shut Spirit down. In some miraculous ways, Team Spirit managed to make it to the third OTs, mostly because of Chopper, who dragged them there. But by then, Donk was done, his mantle was gone, and Mouz closed it out. Donk, he just broke. And here's where comes the most interesting part, because Storgy said that they know a few Spirit players from their academy days, and they knew exactly how to get into Donk's head, to throw him off the game. And I guess they did it, because apparently during the third map, Donk was just all chatting, mocking Mouz players, especially Torji. Donk literally typed that Torji will never hit above 1.10 and called them all bots. Ironically though, only Sershin ended with a rating above 1.10, but Mouz still walked away with the win. I mean, my friends, mental game lost means series lost. Brawlon also shared his emotions after the win, saying that this was a huge step forward for him as the new in-game leader. He emphasized that this is very important, that the team listens and trusts him, and that this kind of support is a key part of their journey towards success. But if you think that we're done here, it's not that, because the final match of day 3 was Vitality versus Virtus.pro, and let's be honest, it wasn't the most exciting series. In fact, it was more of a one-sided beatdown from start to finish. Vitality crushed Virtus.pro with a dominant 13-6 on map 1 and then 13-5 on map 2. Bros, mark my words, Vitality will win this. I mean, the blast. After the match, Maui Snake made an interesting observation. He believes we've probably seen Electronic's last appearance in HLTV Top 20. According to Maui Snake, Electronic is now focused more on leadership than on his aim and stats. On the other hand, Flamas, the new star of the team, who should still be focused on aim, wasn't satisfied with his own performance. He said that he needs to step up and improve. Bro, no cap. With that, 2 teams have been eliminated from the event, and now Spirit, FaZe, FURIA, VP, Liquid, M0NESY, Imperial and Falcons are all on the edge of elimination. And that's all for today, my friends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and follow our channel, and drop by to say hello in the comments below. I'm not saying goodbye for a long time, my friends. See you soon.